All right, guys. Week 2 NFL. Been hella busy, so I'm doing it out of my car again. Got to go back to work. But I missed yesterday's game. Well, missed posting it, but we had Vikings +7. You could check the Discord. It's in the Discord. We also had a little play on the Vikings first half, which we got absolutely torched on with the fumble in the end zone. It's only a unit, but still, we should have been up money. So that one sucked. But we got the backdoor cover at the end. I think the whole game changes if Jefferson scores that touchdown, but it is what it is. We've had a few games like that. We had, I would say, the first game to kick off the season, we had the Chiefs, and some funky stuff happened there. We took an L on that one. Then on Monday Night Football, we had the Bills, and Josh Allen throws 3 interceptions, fumbles once. Vikings yesterday fumbled that one in the end zone, but they also had 4 total fumbles, so they probably should have won that game outright. If a few more breaks go our way, we'd be absolutely just destroying NFL. Right now, we're still winning, but it's just not as much as we could be. All right, so let's get it started. We're gonna start it off. We got Chargers in Tennessee. Chargers are laying 3 at most places. There might be a couple 3.5s, but it looks like mostly 3s at the moment. We're on Tennessee here. There's too many points on the road, especially with the Chargers. I made this spread Chargers -1.5, so it's just too many points. And I get it. Herbert's good. I like their offense. The problem is the defense. Always has been, always will be, and the special teams and the injuries. They have problems everywhere. It just doesn't make sense why they can't just blow teams out, I guess. But it is what it is. Their defense, they have a lot of good names on paper, but they do not grade well. After last week against Miami, they did really bad on their PFF grades. I think Bosa had like a 50. Khalil Mack was bad. J.C. Jackson was terrible. Their whole defense is just not playing up to par, I guess you should say. But I like Tennessee at home, getting 3 points. The Titans should be able to move the ball against them and score when they need to. They should be able to score set. I think they should have won the game last week if they had one where it was a fumble and should have been a touchdown. They got kind of screwed on that one. But also, they just need 7s. Stop settling for field goals. There were some bad 4th down calls. They'll be fine. I'm going to say the Chargers win, but like really close, like 23-21 type game. Titans might have a chance at the end to win it. But, yeah, the Titans cover this game, I think. That's obviously what my numbers say. Anyways, moving on. Green Bay in Atlanta. Atlanta is taking a lot of the big money, the sharp money. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think Green Bay, I thought where the line was correct. When Green Bay was -1, that's where I had it. It's not enough for me to play Green Bay, at least not yet. I'm just down on Atlanta completely this year. I don't think they're as good as advertised. Everyone's making them out to be. They're in a very bad division. They should have lost week 1. If Carolina doesn't shoot themselves in the foot over and over and over and over again, Carolina wins that game. We had Carolina last week. It doesn't look close on the scoreboard, but the entire game was close until the end where it just got out of hand at the end. But Atlanta, just dink and dunk offense. I know they get Cordero Patterson back. They'll look a little bit better this week. Last week they looked really bad. But it's just not enough for me to be laying points with Atlanta when I'm down on them pretty heavy this year. I don't know what Ritter's going to be yet. So far, he takes care of the ball, but he just doesn't throw downfield. He doesn't target Kyle Pitts. He doesn't even target London. So I actually have no idea what what their game plan is. I think they're easy to plan for right now. Obviously, throwing Patterson in there gives them a different look, a bunch of different looks, but I just don't know. Two teams that I don't really know for sure about. I think the jury's still out on the Packers with Jordan Love. I'm not a huge fan of him either. He looked good last week, but that was against the Bears, and that was more what the Bears were doing than what the Packers were doing. So I'm going to leave that one alone for now. If it gets more out of hand, I might tease the Packers up. Right now they're 1.5, so I could get them at 7.5. I think that would be the way to play this game, because I don't see a blowout either way. It's going to stay close. Especially, what is the total? I think it's a 41 or something. It's a low total. Yeah, so I would expect a low-scoring game, somewhere in like 20-17 type of game. But that's enough about some sorry teams. Let's go in. Oh, this one doesn't get much better though. Colts in Houston. I have no play on this either way. If I had to lean, my numbers would say lean on the Colts, but I don't like. There's nothing. I'm just gonna move on. That's a gross game. Seattle and Detroit. Two different looking teams in week one. Detroit wins the game in KC on some flukiness, but they won the game. They get a pick six because Tony dropped the ball right into the dude's hands, and they only scored 14 points on offense against a Chiefs defense that, without Chris Jones, looked, on paper looked really bad, and they would keep blitzing and blitzing and blitzing, and it would leave the middle of the field wide open, and the Lions just didn't take advantage of it enough, as they probably could have and should have. They didn't really get St. Brown the ball enough. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna say that the offense will play a little bit better than that against Seattle. Seattle's defense is very bad, but when it was at 6, we took Seattle plus 6. I think that's just way too many points. As you can see now, I think it's down to 4.5. I made it Detroit minus 3.5. I think I'm farther down on Detroit than most people are. I'm still skeptical of their defense. I'm down on Seattle as well, but yeah, I don't see them being much different compared to each other. So I think Seattle plays a much better game than they played last week. Obviously, they had injuries at O-line in the second half, so we got away from them. The other issue was Matthew Stafford was just destroying their defense on third down. So they would keep forcing third downs, and then I think he converted like 11 of them, which is unlikely to happen again. I think, like I said, I think Detroit will be able to score more points. They'll look better on offense, but I expect Seattle's offense to keep up with them. Yeah, I think it's just too many points. Right now, I probably wouldn't touch it at 4.5, but that's why we bet early. If you're in my Discord, if you're following my bet stamp, if you're following me on Twitter, you would get these plays instead of waiting for the videos, but gotta spread the word, right? So Seattle, our play is Seattle plus 6. You could check the Discord, you could check the bet stamp to make sure it's all legit. It's all tracked. Everything's tracked. That's how we got Vikings plus 7 as well. We bet early, unless there's injuries, then I kind of wait, but I like to bet early in the NFL, get the best of the numbers. Moving on, so that's Seattle plus 6. We're going Chicago and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I make a 2-point favorite at home. I'm higher on Tampa Bay this year than I think most people were. But they won week 1, and now everyone's kind of, saying they're better than they are. And Chicago looked really bad. Well, I already have Chicago really bad. Like, I'm not changing anything on them. They're really bad. I just don't think Tampa Bay should have been laying 3. So we grabbed Chicago plus 3. Wasn't a huge play or anything, but I don't see Tampa Bay winning by more than 3. They would have to win by 4, 7, whatever. I don't see that being possible. I think this stays under 3 with Chicago having a chance to win. It's not a whole lot to talk about. This is more just a numbers play. Obviously, they looked awful. Tampa Bay didn't look great, but they benefited from turnovers, and they eventually won the game. And that's what happens in the NFL. You give a team too many chances with turnovers, and you're going to get beat. And that's what happens with the Vikings. They had 4 fumbles yesterday. I think it was 3 turnovers in week 1, and they couldn't overcome it. But if they stopped fumbling and turn over the ball, then they would probably be winning games. Anyways, we're taking Chicago plus 3. It's ugly. It's a hold your nose play, but it is what it is. It's the NFL. We're going to be betting on bad teams. Let's see. Vegas and Buffalo. So I haven't played this yet. I make the game Buffalo minus 10. Now that's obviously over a key number, but when you get past 7, key numbers aren't as key as you would think. It's 3 and 7 are the key numbers. Buffalo's been, I guess Raiders been bet to make it go down to minus 8. I'm definitely going to be. I already parlayed it money line with a couple other teams. If you go in the Discord, you'll see that. I might tease this game. If for some reason it gets down to 7, then I'll absolutely just launch on the game, Buffalo minus 7. But we're not there yet. This is a get-right spot for Buffalo. Obviously, they played the Jets. They looked bad. Jets just play them well. Their defense plays well. They frustrate Josh Allen. It's not going to be the same this week. Buffalo might score 40 points this week. This is a get-right game for them. So I'm just going to wait, see where the line goes, but I'm playing Buffalo no matter what, but it's not going to go any higher, so I'm just waiting. It's a waiting game on this one. So Buffalo minus 8. If you want to lock it in, that's up to you. Definitely going to either tease it or parlay it, but we're just waiting, see what happens with the line, and we'll be on it because the Raiders' defense is absolutely terrible, and this is a good spot for Buffalo, get their offense going, and their defense is really good, so Raiders going to have some problems this game. Let's see. KC and Jacksonville. Chiefs got Chris Jones back. So when I first made this game, this was without Chris Jones, without Kelsey. I had it still at 3, more like a 3.25, 3.25. They get Chris Jones back. They get Kelsey back. It's hard to kind of put a number on it, but I would think it should be more than 4 now, or at least a 4. And you're getting KC minus 3.5 at even money. I mean, you could still get them down to minus 3 for like minus 120. And I like KC here. I didn't lock it in yet because I just refreshed the numbers this morning. It looks good. We're taking KC. I like them on the money line as well. Have an edge on that. I know a lot of people don't like to. If you have an edge on the game, then you probably have an edge on the money line. Just put it that way. But Casey's offense is going to look much better than it did in week 1. Casey's defense will look better. The problem here is Jacksonville. Their defense is atrocious. They're not going to be able to stop Casey's offense unless Tony is stopping Casey's offense on his own. That's what happened week 1. It could happen again, but I don't expect it to be. They've had a long week off. They were the first game on Thursday, so they've had a lot of prep time. I think Jacksonville had a misleading win in week 1. It was much closer than it looked. They actually probably could have lost that game. I expect them to have the same trouble that they had against the Colts and more against KC. So Mahomes is going to look good. If I could somehow parlay the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Bengals to all score more than 30 points. I don't know what that would pay, but I got to find somewhere because I think that's what's going to happen this week. I think those teams that looked bad in week 1 are going to look pretty damn good in week 2, especially against their matchups. Kind of just so happen to be that way. So next game, we're actually talking about Baltimore and Cincy. Baltimore is dealing with a ton of injuries. Before the injuries, I already had Cincy at 3.5. I just have them as a better team than Baltimore. Baltimore did not look great week 1. Obviously the Bengals didn't look good. They looked absolutely garbage, but we're gonna throw that game out. We're just forget about that game. The Browns do play them tough. For Baltimore, they played a really bad Houston team. They couldn't move the ball. Defense played okay, but they were keeping Houston in the game the entire time, and then finally turnover, whatever, they were able to finally pull away. So I just don't think that this Baltimore team is as explosive on offense as they used to be. And I think dealing with all the injuries on the back end, O-line and all that, Cincy has a pretty big edge here. I'm taking Cincy. We took them yesterday -3 it was -117 on Bookmaker. So we slammed that. And today it's still -3, about -120 most places. I still like that. It's not going to scare me off. So if you're late, take the Cincy -3. It's a good play. Look for the Bengals to bounce back, especially against a Baltimore team that has injuries and just already didn't look good as it was. So I like this spot for them. San Francisco in LA against the Rams. The spread is dropped down to -7. Niners laying 7 on the road. I don't like the spread. I don't want to take the -7. I kind of am scared of the game just because it's back-to-back road teams to start off the season, or road games to start off the season. They were in Pittsburgh. They played great, but now they have to go back. It's not far. They got to travel from Pittsburgh all the way to LA, but LA from San Francisco is not that far, obviously. But back-to-back road games, I don't really want to lay the 7. Like I said, the Rams looked good last week. This is a different team, though. The Niners defense is pretty just ridiculous. It's probably going to be number 1 or number 2. Maybe the Jets be number 1. But yeah, it's. I like them on the money line or on a teaser. I don't like laying 7 here. I don't think it's a good spot. I know the Niners pretty much own the Rams for the last few seasons outside of that playoff game, but that's a different conversation. Shanahan is pretty terrible at laying big spreads, though. I like when he's a low favorite or underdog or whatever, but he does not want to cover big spreads, and I don't know if he really learned his lesson about that or not, but I'm not going to lay 7 here. So I will probably figure out a way to play them, tease them, or something down. But I'm a little weary of the back-to-back road games to start off the season. And we just don't really know exactly what we're getting with the Rams yet, but that's the way I would play that. Jets in Dallas. This one's a little tough. Obviously, the Jets lost Aaron Rodgers, and now they have Zach Wilson in there. I think Zach Wilson is going to be better than what he was last year, but we were hoping to get him, behind Rodgers, mentoring him for a while, not right away in week 1 going out and now having to get thrown back in there. And then you're playing against a really good Dallas defense. Obviously, Dallas defense is going to limit Zach Wilson. It's going to give him problems. The only other thing is the Jets defense is really good, and I don't know if Dallas can cover 8.5 points. I would think it would be somewhere more like 7.5, but there's not much of an edge there. So I'm just gonna kind of lay off this game. I would say Dallas wins, but it's a close game. The defense for both teams are gonna play really well. I'd rather just watch the game. Washington in Denver. I don't really have anything on this game. Line is pretty spot on. I don't really want to lay 3.5 with Denver after what I saw last week. Sean Payton is living in 15 years ago. I don't know what that coaching performance was, but it was awful. Washington has a D-line to kind of give Russell Wilson some fits, but I just don't know if they're going to score enough points to hang around. But it's just a game I don't really want to get involved with. I would say Denver wins by 3 if I had to choose, but nothing there. Miami, New England. I am on New England plus 3. My team's got a little messed up. It's supposed to be a different team first, but that's fine. New England plus 3 at home. I believe this is a Sunday night game. Yeah, Sunday night game. My spread got messed up, but Sunday night at home. I like New England in this spot. Yes, Tua is 4-0 against New England or whatever. I've been seeing that all week. New England has a really good defense. We saw last week they probably should have won that game against Philly. They had to start down 16-0 pretty quickly, and then they fought back, and then they just couldn't finish the job. But the defense hung around all game, making it tough for the Eagles, for Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying they're going to do that to Tua exactly, but they will limit him. It's not going to be like last week where he threw 460-something yards. I expect New England to be able to move the ball a little bit better than they normally would because I'm not a fan of this Miami defense. I think New England will have problems on offense in other games. I'm down on them as a whole. But in this game, I do expect New England to score some points. I'm going to say New England wins this game. Let's say 24-21. New England wins. Sunday Night Football, they're 0-1. This is a good spot for them. I like it. Plus 3. I think that's too many points. I had it at 1.5, so I don't think Miami should be that much better than New England. Just put it that way. Moving on, we have the Giants at Arizona. Obviously, the Giants looked terrible last week. It's another game where it's just a bad matchup against Dallas. They have a bad O-line going against a good D-line. It's just not a good matchup for them. This is different. It's Arizona. I made the spread 5.5, which was what it started out at. Now it's dropped down to -4. So there is an edge on it. I haven't played it just because I want to see how much that number will drive down. I do think the Giants get back on the board here, get in the win column. I just don't see Arizona putting up enough of a fight to hang around. I do like the Giants here. I might play at money line. We'll see. But I lean the Giants. Monday Night Football, we have 2 games. New Orleans in Carolina. I have New Orleans -2.5 in Carolina. The spread has gone to 3. It looks like New Orleans -3, -115. So we took Carolina +3. Carolina +3 at home. Again, last week, I think their final score was misleading from what happened in that game. Carolina, first drive of the game, drove right down the field, and they got stuck in 4th down and turned the ball over. And then just a few, I think it was 2 interceptions, I want to say. And then they just couldn't do enough to get back in the game. New Orleans, I think I'm higher on New Orleans than most people, but I'm still skeptical. they look like they're stuck in the mud, and I don't think they'll be able to put the pressure on Carolina. I think Carolina will be able to move the ball, and Carolina's defense will be able to keep them in the game. So I think Carolina gets this first W at home in a close game. Close game at home. Monday Night Football. They get a win. Cleveland in Pittsburgh. Pretty much the same concept here. Obviously, Cleveland looked great last week. They always give the Bengals fits. I don't think this line should be where it's at. I have Pittsburgh as a small favorite. The books are hanging Cleveland minus 2.5 right now. So we already played Pittsburgh in a teaser. But I'm just kind of waiting to see how much money this will take. And then I'll probably... We'll take the 2.5 here. I mean, I don't think it's going to get to 3. I think that would be pretty nuts if it did, and then we would definitely jump on that. So I'll probably just take the 2.5. The money line's not enticing enough to just lay off, the money line and just play it. I mean, lay off the spread and just play money line. So I'll take the 2.5 here at home. They look bad against San Francisco, but San Francisco is going to do that to a lot of teams. They're going to make them look bad. This is obviously Cleveland has a good D-line. I still think you'll be able to move the ball against the secondary. If Pittsburgh can get some time to throw the ball, the receivers will make some good plays in the back end and be able to score some points against this team. And I do think Cleveland will have trouble. I don't like what I saw from their offense last week. TJ Watt was the only player that really affected the Niners last week, so I expect that to happen again. I expect them to kind of harass Deshaun Watson. I don't think Watson's very good at all. He's not bottom 5, but he's probably bottom 10 in the league. Not a big fan of him. I think Pittsburgh will do enough to harass him. He'll probably throw a pick or two, and Pittsburgh gets the W at home. That's the way I see it. With all the line movement this week, we ended up on a lot of plays. I adjust my numbers a little bit here and there, but for the most part, I'm going to stick with it from week 1. I think week 2 is where we have the huge overreactions, and I like to stick true to my numbers, at least for the first 2 weeks, and then from there you can kind of see where you're going. Like with the Vikings, yeah, they lost their first 2 games. I expected them to kind of be bad this year because the defense is terrible and the O-line is terrible. But they lost those 2 games by a combined 9 points, I believe it was, and they had 3 turnovers in the first one and 4 turnovers in the second one. So the fact that they're barely losing games and they're turning the ball over that much with a defense that's that terrible, if they stop turning the ball over, they'll be fine. And I think Kirk Cousins is super underrated. That's it for a different discussion, but give that guy an O-line and a freaking defense, and he'll win every game. But that's it for week 2. Just to recap, we had the Vikings +7 yesterday. We hit that, but we lost a couple other smaller plays. We have Tennessee +3. We have a lean on Green Bay right now, but I'm not touching it. We played Seattle +6. We played Chicago +3. Buffalo -8 is a lean. We haven't played it yet, but it will be on there. Same thing with KC -3.5. We haven't played it yet, but we did parlay the money line. Cincy -3 is a play. That is in there. New England +3. We played that. Carolina +3. And to finish it off, Pittsburgh +2.5. That's it for week 2. You can go to the Discord. It's free right now. Just join the Discord. You get all the plays before I do these videos, so you don't have to wait on the line movements and all that. Go to the Discord. Follow me on here. That's it for week 2. Good luck, you guys.